4.5 years ago, I sewed my very own wedding dress and I wore it at my wedding. However, I did not have the skills that I needed to make the actual dress that I wanted for my wedding. So 4.5 years later, I'm taking a shot at actually making the dress of my dreams. First, I'm gonna talk about my original wedding dress. My original wedding dress, by the way, I'm still very proud of. It was just number 2 on my list. It is a basic A-line design. I did want to have plenty of fabric. I didn't want it to be just a flat A-line. I wanted some rippling at the bottom of the skirt to look like it had some extra fabric. Then I did a circle skirt design starting at the top. So really, there was a bunch of fullness at the bottom, but then it went really small at the waist because I didn't want to make my waist look really large with a bunch of gathers. So I just did the circle skirt design. I did 1 layer of satin, the matte side of the satin, and then I did 2 layers of tulle on top of that to create a flat tulle skirt look. And then I just made the bodice the way I liked it, and then added all my lace on top, and I hand stitched it all. I added buttons in the back, and that is something that I want to do with my other dress, is my next dress as well. I'm really excited about that. I'll also note that at that time, I was not very comfortable with designing my own sewing patterns. So this bodice pattern was actually made out of another pattern that I found from Simplicity, and I seriously chopped it up and had to redo it because it was not fitting right. There are a few fitting issues with this. I feel like would be like there's a little bit of rippling here, and maybe that's a very minor detail, but to me it really drives me nuts, and that is partly because I used a pattern that was not made for my body. So that is the basic design. Let's talk about what I really wanted, and let's start designing. Please don't pick on my fashion design sketch because I do not have any training in this. I'm just trying to show you what I'm looking for without using images online that I'm not supposed to share on YouTube. So here it goes. So looking at this, I still have my tulle skirt. I'm gonna do my 2 layers of tulle skirt. At the bottom of the skirt, I'm gonna do horsehair detailing at the bottom of the skirt. And then I'm gonna put the tulle on top of that. Wait and see, it's actually gonna be pretty neat. I'm gonna do a circle skirt type design. I might do a double circle skirt, I'm not sure, to make it more full so that this looks bigger, because I'm going for a full ball gown look. Whereas my other dress did not have a ball gown look. It was completely A-line, like it would be chopped off here. So I'm gonna put crinoline underneath. I'm not gonna do a hoop skirt. I'm gonna do crinoline because I want it to swoosh and be natural looking. I'm gonna have my lace on the bodice, and then I'm gonna have spaghetti strap. And then on the back, it's gonna be a low V in the back. It might even be lower than that. I'm not sure. I'm gonna play around with it. That will be in my next video. But I'm gonna put some little tiny detailing of lace going on the straps so it blends the bodice with the straps. And then if you can see here, I'm gonna put my little buttons here that I like. So this is my sketch. This is the general idea. I'm sure things might change over time as I figure out what looks better on the actual dress. But the detail that I did not know how to do was making the skirt bigger without it looking tacky, because I did not want my dress to look like it was stuffed, and so it looks bad. Whereas I wanted to have all these little ripplings on top of the crinoline, and I just could not figure out how to do that. I had made some tries, but it just wasn't working. Let's talk about fabric that I'm going to use. For the base layer of my dress, the bodice and the skirt is going to be a satin. It's like an ivory satin, but I'm not going to use the shiny side. I'm not going to use this side. I'm going to use the matte side of the fabric. I found this fabric on Etsy. Also, I bought about 15 yards of a Swiss tulle Swiss tulle. I bought 15 yards of Swiss tulle, and this is a lot lighter. It is not ivory. However, when I laid it on top of my actual fabric that I just showed you, the satin, it really gave it a really good balance of a white between an ivory and a white. And this was supposed to be off-white, but sometimes different brands of fabric or companies that make these fabrics, some of them just label colors differently, so it's hard to find things that have continuity with them in color. So yeah, so this is Swiss tulle. It's very lightweight. It is not crunchy tulle. This is not. It is soft to the touch, and it drapes really nice. And this is what I used on my other dress. However, I used an actual ivory on my other dress. So this is what you want to use if you're wanting your dress to drape nicely for a wedding dress. Okay, now for the crinoline. This is the crinoline. Crinoline is basically an extremely stiff tulle. So if you can see, it's like paper almost, or thicker, or like stiffer than paper. Well, it's probably about the same stiffness. But if you take it apart, it is really thick. And this, when you gather it underneath the skirt, it'll give it a lot of structure. So I plan on putting this underneath my skirt. I'm gonna do a lining layer underneath my actual skirt, and I will attach this to the outside of the lining, then put my actual circle skirt, double circle skirt on top of that, then do my actual tulle fabric on top of that. So this is to give structure, and it actually can stand up on its own. And for the lace attachments, I still have lace left over from my actual wedding dress. A whole bag of it. I still have yet to decide if I need to buy more of it because there may not be enough, but this is the lace that I used. I also have a handful of buttons left over from my wedding dress, so I can use some of my original materials to make it look like how I wanted it to look. But I still need to buy loops for the buttons to go in, because you sew the loops into the zipper, which I'll get to that. You'll just have to hit subscribe if you want to see how all these details come together. And I'm going to use an invisible zipper. It really doesn't matter what tone of white it is. I would prefer to have it the same color. However, this is going to be completely hidden because I'm going to have the buttons on there, so it's going to hide it really well. So that's the end of this video. That's my introduction to all of this. However, if you want to see how I make the pattern for this dress, hit that subscribe button because that video is coming out next week and you won't want to miss it. Like this video if you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time.